Welcome to yet another Sigma lens release on Sigma Lens Release Day, and the exciting bit about this video is that APS-C shooters have not been forgotten today. In fact, this is the new Sigma 23mm DC DN. That's right, it's no longer a trio anymore. And this is very exciting because a lot of you guys have been asking for a 23mm. This is an equivalent to a 35mm on a full frame Sony mirrorless camera. So it's a classic focal length street photography style lens. Good everyday lens. I'm excited to check this one out, so let's get started. It comes in a small white box. Inside there are some manuals, the lens with plastic front and rear lens caps, and a nice plastic lens hood. In terms of the lens itself, if you have the Sigma 30mm f1.4, this 23mm is exactly the same thing, just a touch longer, less than a centimeter longer though. This new 23mm is about 3 inches long overall. It weighs 330 grams, which is heavier than the old 30mm, which is 270 grams, but from a build quality and feel standpoint, it is the exact same thing. It's almost surreal handling both of these lenses together because one was released in 2016 and this one in 2023. That's a 7-year difference. Starting at the rear, there is a metal mount with electronic connections. There's a rubber gasket here, something that is missing on the 30mm but present on the 16 and the 56mm. Sigma logo and lens specs here, 023 printed here for 2023, and minimum focus distance is 0.25 meters, and the lens is made in Japan as expected. There's a large focus ring here. It's smooth, but not as well damped as the ones on other lenses in this series, and there is a bit more noise when you rotate it compared to the other lenses. Listen up, this is the new 23mm lens. This one's quieter and smoother. Around the front, there is a nice size front lens element and some very faint lens specs, again made in Japan on the bottom, and filter thread size is 52mm. Mounted on the camera, this is an all too familiar sight. In fact, out in public when I was using this lens, I didn't have an ounce of worry about someone recognizing this thing and saying, hey, is that an unreleased Sigma? Because it looks exactly like a 30mm, which has been out for 7 years. Inside there are 13 elements in 10 groups and a 9 rounded blade diaphragm. The autofocus motor is a stepper motor, so we will see about performance. And to wrap things up, Sigma says this quote, "This lens has been designed to achieve the highest level of optical performance in the history of Sigma's DC DN line," end quote. That is a bold claim, but an exciting one if it's true. So let's see what this lens is capable of on my A6100. The answer is sharp photos. This new 23mm is optically a very, very good lens. I'll have to do some more side-by-side testing when I have it for more than a couple of days, but from the few photos that I took with it, I was very impressed. Now, it is not perfect. There is some vignetting that is noticeable in shots. Flare performance, on the other hand, was pretty good with the lens hood on. There is a bit of ghosting and still some flare does show up, but this is shooting into the sun, so a little lens flare is to be expected. Chromatic aberration is surprisingly well handled. There is a little bit of it, but it's not jump out at you immediately as it is with some lenses. Sigma says this lens has excellent flare and ghosting resistance, and I would agree with that statement. The bokeh performance is excellent. It's smooth. It does cat eye in the corners and edges, but it's not distracting. In most shots, it's nice and subtle and creamy. Colors, contrast, sharpness, everything is there. It fits right in with the rest of the primes in this group. It's a wonderful addition to the collection. The only problem that I can see now is the Sigma Trio has to be renamed the Sigma Quattro or the Quadro Formaggio or something. It's a mouthful. In all seriousness, it's a great lens. Excellent performer. The autofocus was the best out of the group. I would say it's better than even the Sigma 56mm, which was the best prior to this lens. However, be aware that if you use this lens for video and you want to focus pull, there is quite a bit of focus breathing. But even with the little issues, this is an excellent lens and I would highly recommend it. I have to keep looking at it to make sure this is the 23mm and not the 30mm, because again, they are just too similar together. Now, again, this is a lens that a lot of you guys have been asking for. I've read dozens and dozens and dozens of comments over the years about a 23mm for Sony APS-C. and here it is. This is the reason that the Viltrox 23mm f1.4 was so popular, really was the focal length, because it gives you that 35mm equivalent on full frame. Unfortunately, this lens is a bit more expensive than the Viltrox. It's launching for $549 US, which makes it the most expensive lens in this lineup so far. And if I'm honest, I'm surprised that this wasn't launched at $499 because it's a much more reasonable and attractive price in my eyes. Regardless, I will be buying one of these lenses for my own personal collection just to do some more comparisons, to test it a little bit more, also because I want to keep a full DC DN collection of lenses that again is now a Quadro Formaggio, I guess. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are regarding this lens. Are you guys excited for it? Are you planning on picking up one of these things? Is it priced a little too high? If you have a Viltrox, are you considering maybe replacing it with this lens? Always curious and interested to read your guys' comments. Special thank you goes out to Sigma for developing this lens. It took you guys a while, but thank you for getting it out. It's awesome that APS-C shooters have not been forgotten yet. So that's much appreciated, and thank you for sending this out for review. Again, I'm sending this one back, but I will be ordering my own, so you guys will see probably more videos with this lens in particular, not this one, but the one that I'm getting in the coming weeks. Stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.